How is everyone?
Awesome.
Happy Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
So today, for those of you who get the email, it said that I'm going to be talking about something else, but the topic of today is, when will peace come? Our world today seems to be falling into darkness, right? There are wars raging, and so many people are living lives of fear and desperation. There are children starving all over the planet. And our children are afraid to even go to school because they're afraid they're going to be gunned down. And what kind of world are we going to leave for them if we keep going in this direction? There really doesn't even seem to be much of a future, right? But if you watch the news. Let me tell you a story of an ordinary man. Think of someone soft-spoken, quiet, may even be called meek or weak. Yet this man used his life to change the reality of thousands of people on the planet. The name of this man was Mr. Fred Rogers, and he had a TV show that ran for three decades, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He became an indelible American icon of children's entertainment and education, as well as a symbol of compassion, patience, and morality. February 19th, 1968, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood made its national TV debut. The show's purpose, as put forth by Mr. Rogers, was to promote good self-esteem, self-control, imagination, creativity, curiosity, appreciation of diversity, cooperation, patience, and persistence. You don't see any shows like that on TV for kids today, right? At least I haven't seen any. Mr. Rogers was also an ordained Presbyterian minister. In 1962, he received a Bachelor of Divinity degree and was ordained as a minister in the United Presbyterian Church and charged with continuing his work for creating and contributing to wholesome children's television programming. Mr. Rogers got into TV because he was visiting his parents one day, and he saw a show where people were throwing pies at each other, and he hated it. He said, "I hate what's on TV, and I thought there must be some way of using this fabulous instrument to be of nurture to those who are watching and listening." And a few years ago, his show ended in 2001. Can you believe that? It went that long, but 14 years he's been gone. But at the same time Facebook came on and stuff, there were rumors that circulated the internet, and I actually believed it, but I couldn't believe that it could be true, that the reason why Mr. Rogers wore the sweaters every day was because he was a sniper in the military, and that the sweaters were to cover the various tattoos on his arms and body that represented all the people that he killed. That was what they said about him. Mr. Rogers never served in the military and was in fact a pacifist. And unlike most children's television shows, Mr. Rogers played himself. He was the same on camera as off. And his reasons for this: one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody is the gift of your honest self. He also said that he knew kids could spot a phony a mile away. In 1997, Mr. Rogers was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Daytime Emmys. And so he showed up to accept it among all the soap opera stars and talk show hosts. And this is the story as it was told in the article. In front of all the jutting man-tan jaws and the jutting saltwater bosoms, he made his small bow and said into the microphone, All of us have had special ones who have loved us into being. Would you just take, along with me, 10 seconds to think of the people who have helped you become who you are? 10 seconds of silence. Then he lifted his wrist, looked at the audience, looked at his watch and said, "I'll watch the time." There was at first a small whoop from the crowd, a giddy, strangled hiccup of laughter, as people realized he wasn't kidding, that Mr. Rogers was not some convenient eunuch, but rather a man, an authority figure who actually expected them to do what he said. And so they did. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and now the jaws clenched, and the bosoms heaved, and the mascara ran, and the tears fell upon the beglittered gathering like rain leaking down a crystal chandelier. And Mr. Rogers finally looked up from his watch and said softly, "May God be with you," to all his vanquished children. Do you see the goodness of this man? Do you remember his show? Yeah. Who remembers? Yeah, everybody here. It reminds me of a simpler time. Mr. Rogers was a hero. He brought light and love to all the children that were affected by him, who are my age and your age. We were those children, a lot of us, or our children were, so we were watching with them. So who's going to minister to our children today? It's up to us. You may say, "I don't have any children," but guess what? Every child on this planet is your child. Every child on this planet is my child. If one child suffers, they're all suffering. We're suffering. Picture some of the children on the news today. The desperate faces of the refugee mothers who are trying to find just a place for her children to sleep for one night. Did you see that picture on Facebook? I know not all of us are on Facebook. But I saw this picture on Facebook last week of a little girl. She was probably 4 years old. And it's nighttime. It's outside in the dirt. And she has some kind of rock. And she's drawing around her baby brother, who's about 2 years old, who's huddled up in a ball on the ground asleep. She's drawing him a bed in the dirt. She's drawing, it's actually a picture of a bed. So much despair. So how can we help? Mr. Rogers said this: "We live in a world where we share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my child, not my community, not my world, not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes." When I think about how my own life is going, I know that I'm here to be a helper. Just like Mr. Rogers, just like each one of us here. In his last televised statement, Mr. Rogers spoke to the grown-up children who had watched his show. "I would like to tell you what I often told you when you were much younger. I like you just the way you are. And what's more, I am so grateful to you for helping the children in your life to know that you'll do everything you can to keep them safe and to help them express their feelings in ways that will bring healing in many different neighborhoods. It's such a good feeling to know that we're lifelong friends." So when will peace come? When will there be peace on earth? Well, this is what Jesus told us And he told his disciples in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14 through 16. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it up on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. Do you see what Jesus is saying to all of us? We are the light of the world. This world right here, in this moment, us, as Catherine the Great so aptly demonstrated. Mr. Rogers saw the need for wholesome messages for children in this planet, and he dedicated his life to that. Jesus didn't just become the Christ, the cosmic Christ of the universe in one day. He was a man just like every single one of us with all of his stuff. But he was persistent every single day, affirming his oneness with the Father, the creator of all that is, until he left everything behind that was unlike that presence. He affirmed his oneness with the Father every day. The world seems like it's falling apart. And we really wish we could change it, right? We wish we could change it for our children, for our grandchildren. So how do we do that? How do we become the light of the world? We have to let go of that bowl that we've been putting over us. And what is that bowl? What does it represent? It represents all of the ways that we hold each other in bondage, all of the ways, all of our grievances, all of our unforgiveness. So let's just forgive those who trespass against us. And as we are doing this, we will begin to see that we are the light of the world. As we extend that light out into the room, and I believe the room, that everyone in the house, represents our planet. Did you see the man on the corner, the homeless man, with the small dog huddled up against him? Did you say, what can I do to help him? Maybe you even judged him as being lazy. After all, he's a grown man. Or maybe you thought, well, he's a drug addict. If I give him money, he'll just go spend it on drugs. And we've all thought those things. Or we just thought, you know what, I'll pray for him. Maybe he knows he's being judged. You think so? You say, why should I feed him? Jesus said, feed the people. Maybe this man is Jesus. Maybe this man is the Christ. Maybe he is your Savior. I had a friend who was on that corner. He was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. He was a drug dealer. He was on that corner doing his business. He thought that's who he was. But then one day someone came up to him, and I don't know what they said,